step in installing a polycarbonate door, 1/2 inch thick, from Forestry Doors on an L334 New Holland. Now what we're doing, there's the seat. I'm on the outside, and what we have to do is match up this latching mechanism with the lock. Now this part of the lock had to be removed. That comes off. It was previously right there. So you have to remove the two factory nuts. That takes a 10mm wrench. Everything's metric on these New Hollands, but it's SAE for the replacement hardware. So you remove this, and then you take this piece right here, which is the adapter plate, and you attach that to the adapter plate. You have to do that first before these other two screws right here go on the adapter to the machine. So right here, you use the nut on the outside, and right here, the nut is on the inside. Get those two attached, but do not tighten. The reason you don't tighten is that you need to adjust that latch to make sure things close tightly, because there isn't a lot of play on these to get these seals to match up. So you get those on, and so that you can tighten them later. And you can see how difficult it is to get in there to get those tightened. Even worse is this adapter plate right here, because the back nut is almost impossible to get to. You have to use the smallest, thinnest 3/8 inch wrench you can find to get to it. This one isn't so bad right here. You can get at it, and you generally do. Now, one of the other problems is that right here, this presses up against the plastic, and so you need to bend your plastic a little bit. If I do over again, I would take a hammer and I'd tap that, pound it in a little bit so I'd have room so that I could tighten this particular bolt first. That bolt is the hard one to get tight. So you get in your vehicle, you sit down, and you pull that door shut until you can get a seal. And it's really hard to get a seal on these, even though you'd think that the seal wouldn't be a problem. You've got to tighten this up as tight as you can get. I had to go as far back on this, as far back toward the machine as I could get, and I ended up pounding it. You can see where I pounded a little bit of paint off to get as far back as I could and get it tight. The adjustment of this piece up and down is not that difficult. It's all about this one and getting this nut tightened, because there's no room to get a wrench in there unless you grind your wrench down a little bit. So once that's in, once it shuts tightly and you get a good seal against right there, then you can go out and work on the windshield wiper. Now the windshield wiper, of course, is going to be metric, and as I remember, that's a 10mm and that's a 13mm. There's little mini cogs in here, and you've got to get these things lined up right so that you don't have the windshield wiper hitting against your door handle or hitting over here on this rubber piece. And the way you do it is you pull this back, and then you while it's still loose, and you watch them, see when these nuts go all the way to one side. Once they're all the way to one side, then you put this back up and make sure your windshield washer is just about up against this little rubber nut, just barely a 1/2 inch there. And once you tighten these up, gently tighten them up, because there's where the cogs are at, and that one is just to hold it to the motor. But once you get them tightened up, then you go and you test it to make sure it doesn't shoot all the way over and hit against this door seal. And that's what you need to do with those. It'd be nice if there was some mark on them, but I couldn't find a mark that was dead center or how to adjust them. So overall, it is kind of a tedious process, but I was able to do it. Probably took me an hour and a half.